Welcome back. Today I'm not in the RV because I'm going to be talking about our tow vehicle, because I just dropped the Brinkley off at the Brinkley Service Center. Brinkley RV service here. They've been super nice. Not to get anybody dizzy, but I'm going to be leaving it for about a month. Hopefully. We'll see how it goes. Went through the checklist. Real easy, really ready for you, really friendly. Can't say enough nice stuff. But now I'm going to go to the Amish bakery and get some stuff for the road and head home. And today I'm going to be talking about the navigation system inside this Ford and whether it can replace having another big bulky screen on your dashboard. I don't know if you're like me, but I already have a backup trailer one I sometimes put up there. I got a TPS monitor, I got a dash cam. The last thing I want is another one of these. Unfortunately, the navigation system that's originally used to come with Ford had no way to account for the height of your trailer or the weight or the length. So I'd always have to use one of these Garmin's or use my cell phone, which I also don't like to do because I like to have it available. When I bought my 2021 Ford F-350 single-wheel drive King Ranch, I did a review of it on this channel, and I complained then, why would Ford build such a monster truck that can handle such a big trailer and not have the ability in the navigation to put that in there so it can route you correctly based on your trailer? Well, when I bought this 2024 about 9 months ago, they fixed that. They have that in this system. So I decided to test it out for you by only using that system, not even plugging this thing in, not using the cell phone, not checking the route. We're going to rely 100% on the Ford system and see how it does. And we've been everywhere. We went out west, we went to Canada, we went up down the East Coast, we went to Fort Wilderness in Florida, and all I used was this. And I'm going to tell you how that went. Now, first of all, how does the system work? Well, you go into the features on the screen and you have to input the name that you want for the trailer and all of its variables, its length, its height, etc. And then you'll have it in there and you can select it, and you have to go to select it before you go on a trip with your trailer. And then you must also select on the Ford dial that you want to be in tow haul mode. It will then show the trailer on your dash view so you know you're on there. And this is very important. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's really important to make sure you do that every time and double check it before you go on a trip, and even if you stop for lunch. Now, one of the things I hate about the new Ford is the select dial is now turning the dial that used to select your four-wheel drive, etc. And now those are buttons around that dial. So you can actually put it in four-wheel drive. I think this was a horrible design feature to go to. It probably wouldn't have been if they'd always done that way, but when people have gotten used to turning this dial that says four-wheel drive on it to select four-wheel drive, and then now it doesn't do that, something else does that, you're going to make mistakes. Bad move forward. But I digress. Let's get on to talking about how did this system do. Well, the first issue I ran into was when we were headed out west and we were traveling from Grants, New Mexico to Mesa Verde in Colorado. I put in the campground and it said it couldn't find it, unavailable route. I knew this was odd because there's a very clear main road route all the way there. After fiddling with it and couldn't get to work, I put in a campground that's literally next door, and it had no trouble finding it, and we headed that direction. Once we got about halfway there, I tried again, and it could locate the campground. Now, this happened 2 to 3 times during our travel and is annoying, but not undangerous or anything. The other major time it happened is when we were headed down towards Florida and we were stopping at a Harvest Host. It was literally right off the freeway, easy to get into, no obstructions. It refused to navigate you to that location. So I just had to kind of go on my own. I kept with the rules. I didn't put on any other navigation. So I just literally put in a destination further down the road and watched for it. Not a big problem, but really annoying. Now, the next thing is a little bit more of a problem. We were in Colorado again, and this time we were going to come down from Breckenridge, Colorado, back down towards Denver, and we were going to head over towards Niagara Falls. So we had a long trip, and I put in the system, the navigation. Now, one of the things about the navigation is it doesn't let you adjust your height setting based on inches. It actually has jumps, and I'll have to look if it's full foot or a half foot increments. But because of that, we had to put 14 foot when we set up the trailer, when we're just right barely above 13 foot 6 inches. Because of this, it said I could not fit through the Eisenhower tunnel, which definitely can. That's the route most people take. It's the easiest way. So the system routed us over the Loveland Pass. It's around 12,000 feet through fairly narrow, windy roads, drop-off shoulders. It was July. There's snow on top. That's how high you're getting up. We were the only 42-foot RV taking that pass. And it was beautiful. I'm glad we did it. The truck had no problem. But if you're scared of putting a large vehicle up those little windy roads with the, that are what some people would call white knuckle driving, then that's probably going to be a big failure for you. Not to mention that you went that whole way instead of just flying right through the tunnel. So the limitation on that you can't put in inches can really restrict you. It'll probably route you around stuff that you've been perfectly safe doing, adding time to your trip and adding some beautiful scenery in our case. All right, the next time it failed us is for some reason, I believe we're heading back from Niagara Falls, heading down to head south from there. And I believe we were in Pennsylvania somewhere. I can't remember the exact location. And it had us get off the freeway and take a different path. And, sometimes that could be because of traffic, whatever. So we were doing that. So we were doing this path. It took us through a little town. There was actually a parade going on. It was quite lovely. And we kept going. And we got to a low bridge that was not marked in the navigation system. And when I say low bridge, this was like a 12-foot, 6-inch bridge. There's no way we could go under it. It was a little residential road, very, very narrow. We've pulled miles down this road, and now I've got to figure out a way to turn around. Luckily, someone had left a gate open on the road into an industrial turnaround spot for trucks, and I was able to back into there and get out without having to back down that little residential road too much. And we backtracked all the way back to the freeway and just went down it, and it was fine. Don't know why that particular low bridge wasn't in the navigation system. It just didn't identify it. And normally when you're traveling, it'll actually show you the height of the bridges as they come up, and there'll be a little warning sign if they're a low bridge or something like that. And it does a really good job. This is the only time it didn't identify one, but that one wasn't on the map. And if that parking lot hadn't had their gate open that day, it would have been a big problem. We'd had to back up for miles to get out of there. So yeah, that was a fail. And the only other thing we had, this was actually coming home from Indiana as we headed down south from Indiana. We stopped for a lunch. Remember, I kind of mentioned this earlier. In the system, normally when you just stop for a short time and turn it back on, picks up where you left off with the navigation set to towing your truck. Well, this time it didn't, and I didn't notice it, and it took us down a road with a low bridge, and we, same low bridge scenario again, had to navigate around that situation. And this was, you can call it user error if you want, but there seems to be an inconsistency when you stop and turn off your truck and you get right back in it, whether it decides if you're still set to that navigation system with your trailer or if you're traveling without it, even if you put it in tow haul. I think it could be better. It's inconsistent, which kind of gives issues, but I guess you can call that one user error. So my only point there is every single time you get in the vehicle, the way to check is when you put in, make sure it's in tow haul. If it says the name of your trailer on the dash, you're in the system. It's going to navigate based on that trailer. If it doesn't, it just says trailer on the top, it has not been activated, and you need to go into the menu in the navigation system. There's not a button you can push, and you need to go to it and select the trailer, and then it'll be activated. I really wish it just had a button you could push, at least a memory for 1 or 2 trailers, so you could just flip it instead of having to go through the whole navigation system. So with all that said, my review of this system is it's pretty convenient. I like not having it. My understanding is after a certain point of time, you may have to pay a subscription fee for it. I don't think it'd be worth that. I don't think it's prime time quite yet, but it's a step in the right direction, and I really like it. Now, I haven't used any systems. I don't know if Ram has a system or Chevy has a system. I'd love to hear about that below. But as to the Ford, I'm glad to see them finally doing this. It still needs a little polish, but it's good to see the right direction. All right, as mentioned, we literally took our RV into Brinkley for service. Those people were amazing, but I'm going to see how they do. Let's find out if the service is everybody says it is for Brinkley when I go to pick it up, and I'll definitely be releasing a video on that. So if you want to see that, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, I may not have a video next Sunday because we are in the midst of travel. It's going to be hectic, but I believe I'm going to have one the following Wednesday. So stay tuned for that.